company, White Research. Her key professional expertise lies in international funding, project management, and she has been working as a project manager and consultant in several funding programs for over 18 years. I will give the floor to her right away, and I'm here also for technical issues always.
Thank you very much, Ceren. Hi everyone.
Hi.
It's a great pleasure for me to be here for several different reasons. I live in Belgium. I'm working in a White Research company. As Ceren described, I'm an EU funding expert for last 18 years and had a chance to work in several different funding programs for researchers mainly. But at the same time, I'm a migration researcher myself. So I still, in Free University of Brussels, I still work as a guest researcher, and my research and projects also regarding migration. And also another reason why it's also important for me to be here today is I'm one of the experts work in building the broader project. So today is also a bit emotional because not every expert working on EU funding can have the chance to be funded. This is the nature of the game. So seeing that the project is running and also being invited to that project as a lecturer is really a great pleasure. So very nice meeting you. I know that it's super hard afternoon classes, after lunch, but stay with me. Probably you will have questions. This should be as practical as possible for all of us. And the reason you can see why you are here is the reason why it should be practical, because if we understand the essence, we can have projects as broader. Maybe in a couple of years I will also see you in different occasions, in different projects. So that's the reason why we built this training while writing as well, not before, but while we were writing the project itself, to give that facility for you to understand different mechanisms. So probably today you will hear a lot of new concepts and new funding programs. It's not important to memorize them because our training is based on a different type of training, which is more neuropsychological training. We will not look at what it is, what you can find actually on Googling simply or from the EU funding portal, but to understand why as researchers we are applying for funding programs, or sometimes why we are doing this initially. If you understand that, you will have a slide probably right there, like after the class. So you will be able to use it as a dictionary, what type of programs you have, what type of tools you have. What I would like to go through with you is more why we are doing and then how we are doing part. What will be the easiest part for you in the future, okay? Very briefly, I will talk about White Research, since for me it is part of the game. It is not a university and not a research institution, but it's a research and consultants company working on EU projects with 318 partners around Europe and outside of Europe. With 32 people, we start as 5 researchers actually, White Research company, mostly researchers, but now with all these projects, we have other researchers, other team members doing their PhDs or their masters working together with us. Over 34 running projects. I didn't want to include the concluded projects as well. And Broader is not one of them because Broader is a project that we are consultant of. So you are from universities. I don't have your profiles. Maybe we can have time to discuss while you are asking questions. But there are different ways of accessing EU funding as a researcher, through a company that you work for, through a company that you start, with collaboration between research and companies and also industries as well. We will also talk a bit about the stakeholders of the game, but this is a whole frame. For example, in this case, as White Research, we were consultants to guide the university in order to prepare and get this funding. So and for me it is very nice because I will be able to understand both perspectives. Sometimes I will switch as a researcher, sometimes as an EU expert, but understanding both will also facilitate you on your pathway to access EU funding, because time to time you will also need to change your hats. Sometimes you will, while you ask questions to yourself, why am I applying for this EU funding? The answer can be sometimes very simple. You have a research idea and you would like to have a funding for doing it. Or you need a simple, let's also talk about the realities. You need to have another postdoc position and you want to continue with your own ideas and also create a job for yourself and for your colleagues working on the same thing. So there can be different reasons, but understanding why part will make you understand which funding programs we can apply, because there are many of them we can reach. As wide research, we actually have 4 departments, but 2 of them are interesting for you, because we have research department and EU funding department, in which we work hand by hand, because sometimes we have a research idea ourselves that we apply through EU funding, but sometimes the vice versa, like with our collaboration with Koç University, for example, as EU consultants and their office in Brussels, we guide them if they have an idea how to get ready and how to choose the right funding program. For that reason, we are working always very closely, and in the future also, while you are applying for funding, you will also do the same sometimes with the offices in your universities. Probably all your universities have research departments that they can facilitate. Sometimes your institutions, public institutions, will support you to get guidance from experts on EU funding. So, very shortly to talk about for myself, we talked about wide research. We have an ongoing collaboration with Koç University as consultants, but I'm also at the same time, outside of being a researcher in Free University of Brussels, I'm also lecturer for the last 8 years on EU studies, on International Master of European Studies in Brussels. If you are interested, you can also have a check if in the future, because I also have a lot of students there. It sounds like it's only a EU-related international relations master, but it's not. It's more practical on reaching also EU funding programs. But of course, it's not like this 1.5 hour class year. We have 3 months of really working on writing proposals and also understanding the project management mechanism, mostly for the researchers as well. Some insights about training approach. As I told you, most of the people who generally fails on EU funding access start with the question what. So they find, for example, they hear about ERC program or Marie Curie or Erasmus Plus or Horizon Europe. And the what question brings them, okay, how I will apply for it. And then they directly go to it, and then why part they need to answer in their proposals while they are writing the project. And most of the cases that when I'm consulting, it's not only in the nature of consulting, there's also psychological consulting as well. A lot of researchers are also not getting the funding and don't have any more the willing to apply for the funding. I don't want any of you to feel like that. That's why the why question is important for us. Because once we start with the why, it will be very easy for us to choose the right funding program. Half of the proposals that I review myself, when I receive the proposals for application, I realize that they are actually written very well. They are very good proposals, but they were applied to a wrong funding program. For example, in Horizon Europe, there is one proposal. I could actually fund it if I had the chance. Very beautiful proposal. Everything is scheduled. Every planning is there. Idea is very good, but it's not Horizon Europe proposal. It is Erasmus Plus proposal. We will understand in a minute why actually. This is information about myself. I already talked about it, so I'm skipping. So we will start with what is EU funding is about. What do you think it is about? The answer of this question will make our life very easy while writing our proposals. and also cheer up when we get the funding? The answer is EU policies.
EU agenda.
Sorry?
EU agenda.
EU policies, EU agenda. But not only agenda, really the policies itself. Because in EU, every topic, like from education to health, there are policies, right? So that we have the certain years of multi-annual agendas for EU, but also there are some policy briefs from the projects that the policymakers are also taking into consideration. And this will give us the pathway as researchers to understand which policies we are answering for. Because EU funding comes from EU budget, which is public money at that. So this EU budget is divided into programs, different programs under EU working programs, according to these policy frames, and how much budget these funding programs will have is actually super dependent on EU policies. That's why, again, we are coming back to the question why we are applying, why they are actually, let's ask the question in a different way. Why should they give us the money for our own super small research? Because, okay, again, let's be honest, our research areas, especially if we are going further and further in our academic path, is smaller and smaller, right? You are more digging deep into your research topics. So why they should give us that funding, which is public money? The answer is coming from the EU policies. If these EU policies, EU agendas, that when we read them carefully in our topic, that also our why and their why comes together, then there is less chance not to get this funding. Where we can find these policies, these different programs that I'm talking about, this is the portal that you can reach almost every EU work programs and call for proposals, together with the agendas, together with the research results. So if you are aiming in the future to have funding for your research, this will be your next, this will be next to your Netflix, like as a segment in your Google. Because time to time you will need to sometimes, as a, actually not only as a person who is writing proposal, but Ceren can also say, because this portal also, when you start to manage your project, it will be your ultimate tool. So once you start this step, hopefully together with this class, or maybe you already have your ongoing projects, this will be the website that always will be open there, because you will be able to reach funding your project, but also there is one important thing, what I'm doing as a researcher as well. You can also check other projects in your field. That's why this website also will be a very good gatekeeper for you to understand if your ideas are innovative. Innovation is one of the keywords that we will use a lot as researchers, because this is also another expectation from us. They don't want, and actually we don't want, while we are preparing our research questions, not to ask the same question which was already asked and answered, right? That's why we are researchers. We are looking for answers or trying to understand, in our case, in our discipline, at least for sociology or related fields, social sciences, we really try to understand the dynamics of things. So this will be very useful for us to understand which question is innovative, especially for Europe, because innovation can also change from country to country, from situation to situation, right? Like there is no one single terminology for innovation. But what European Union wants from us with this budget is bringing research and innovation together. And how we understand what is innovative is not necessarily because we are geniuses on the topic, but by simply checking what has been done and what type of questions that comes from other projects. For example, let's talk about broader, because we are in broader project. What is the aim of broader project? To bring together urban migration governance, policy, practice and research related stakeholders together and learn from each other, right? And in this learning, there are also these summer schools, there are other training programs, but a bit of research as well that our colleagues are running. And in this research, what they are trying to do is learn from each other, 3 universities coming together. They learn from each other. Probably from this research, there will be another question rising. And if you go and read the research outcomes of broader project, as researchers, migration researchers, maybe you will also say that, okay, now I have another question. And you will apply for another funding program, which is not as same as broader project. Because it is not a research call for proposal that we applied for. Again, in 10 minutes it will be clear what I'm talking about, so don't worry when I'm saying that it's not a research project, it's not an innovation project, it's a coordination project. This will be very clear with slides. If it's not clear, please raise your hand, or we can wait until the question part for our practical session. So, what is the logic? When we say that the most important essence from today that we need to get is the policies, especially research and innovation-related policies, if we would like to access EU funding. Again, most of the failure in accessing EU funding for researchers comes from starting from the project idea. So first I have a project idea, then I'm trying to look for calls, and then working programs, and then the policies. Because while we are writing proposal, you will need to talk about related policies. Then, as a reviewer or European Commission reviewer, for example, when I'm reading the project, what I will see is it will look eclectic. It will not fall together. What is the best is to look first the policies. I'm not saying that all of you check and read the research agendas, but your question, while you start to build your idea, should go there. Is this a societal challenge for me? Because if something is not a societal challenge, especially under our research topic, probably there will not be a funding related to it. And this societal challenge sometimes can be very local, sometimes very institutional, like in the broader case, we will again talk about it. Sometimes it can be global level societal challenge. So, because these policies are also not coming from like the general perspective, but there are country-based, global-based, also sometimes even institutional-based evidences that these policies should support EU budget to have certain amount of funding for the researchers to apply for. Generally, I look at it and I also describe it to my students as well with the 3 analogy. Most of the people are only interested in for EU funding on the apples because they are the ones we would like to have, right? So they generally concentrate on that, but in order to have these apples, we really need to have very healthy roots. We need to understand what is the problem there. If our tree is not giving apples, for example, if we are applying 10 proposals, but none of them are funded, probably the thing that we couldn't see is the answer. And generally, these are the roots of the tree. If we start to feed them better, we will start to have better branches, leaves, and the apples there. So that's how I describe generally the roots of the tree as the societal challenges. For example, for a broader project, for urban migration and governance, what we were doing with the team, MiReKoc team, while we were writing this proposal was asking this why question. What is the gap in research in this field? Especially since it was a widening country development call, especially in Turkey in that case. Like, was it about not having enough tools to run these projects? Was it enough not having enough data or data regulation? Then we found the reason, the why part, and we realized that in this call, they were also asking for strengthening this type of tools in institutions in widening countries such as Turkey. And then the policy part and our research gap fall together, which brought the success in this project and it was funded. So we will first try to it can be about, maybe let's give another example, because maybe social part can be less clear. It can be about energy efficiency. We can write a project about energy efficiency, which is a very hot topic, hot policy topic for EU. But if we write a proposal in a very good way, not replying what policy we would like to achieve until 2027, then we will not be funded, because it will not fall in this gap of being a societal challenge and priority for EU. Is it clear? So, in this perspective, if the roots are societal challenges, and these roots are bringing us to the tree, which is EU strategy and policies, our trunk is the budget that we are getting the funding from, separated into different work programs. And, of course, the branches of the trunk are the programs. And then we have the leaves, many leaves on each branch. We have coals, and then the apples will be our project. Under ERA policy agenda, why I gave that policy? Because all of you, even if you are working in different fields, still related to migration, still related to governance, still we need to reply as researchers in any funding program that we apply for. It can be ERC, it can be innovation, EIC, or it can be Horizon Europe or Marie Curie or Erasmus+. This is the policy agenda we need to talk about. So understanding for all of us, European research area policy agenda will be very beneficial, because while you are talking about your fields, and it can be, I think, good term also for me to understand, can any of you doing their PhD right now? Can I start from here? Can you tell me your topic?
My topic is about homemaking practices of female Syrian refugees in Istanbul.
Okay, so you would like to, for example, have a research project like broader around your topic. Understanding, let's imagine, I want to go from concrete examples, not from broader, because broader you can go and read now, because everything is on the website, to just get another idea. For example, for migration and gender, we would like to write a broader like project. For doing that, what I would do first, even before digging the research gap, I would try to understand European research agenda, European research area agenda, in order to understand if any of these programs right now that I can apply for, are also fitting my area. Then, instead of spending time on these programs and calls, what I can do is I can go more national or local or more governmental funds. But since our topic is EU calls, we need to check EU programs. We need to check this agenda if anything there that we can have a contribution. For example, if we check deepening truly functioning internal market for knowledge, open sharing of knowledge, then we know that if I run a project around migration and gender, I need to have some tasks and research that includes also open access, for example. Then it already gives us an idea to what we will write and what type of proposal that we need to also cover while we are writing a proposal. And another thing it says, for example, if we go to 5, gender equality and inclusiveness. Here, it's not only related to, because this means that every European research area related project should have gender equality and inclusiveness. But together with your friend's topic, it falls also even together, right? It doesn't only correspond to European research area policies, which every project, even if you work on energy efficiency or building some new future infrastructures for robotics, it doesn't matter. This means that you need to have gender equality and inclusiveness. But in your friend's project, also by naturally because of her topic, the topic is also related to gender equality and inclusiveness by understanding research results. So her knowing this will also strengthen her writing the proposal in this specific way. because unfortunately, this is the biggest difficulty as researchers we have while writing proposals to differentiate the EU funding proposals from our articles. Because there our concentration is purely our research. But if we would like to access EU funding, of course our research, we will not give up with our research nature, but how they will understand it will be different. We will change our jargon. We will put our head as a researcher aside. We will be translator to them. I will give you some tips and tricks at the end of the class. But what I do generally as a researcher, if I'm writing a proposal, I change 5 different heads. For example, if I'm a researcher on a topic, I'm writing a proposal, I first put the researcher head to be able to write why my idea is innovative for this research area. But then I take it off, put a translator head, how I can translate this information, because it's very technical, to a reviewer who doesn't have the same knowledge, research knowledge I have. Then I put it off, I act like a policymaker. If as a policymaker, generally they don't, if they are not coming from research background, put the policy head, would I be able to give that funding to this research area? Then take it off, be a reviewer suddenly, which means that you are not the writer of the project or researcher, PI of the principal investigator of the project, but the reviewer, evaluator of this project. So this changing heads will really facilitate your success. What I want you to do from now on is making the first critics to your ideas first yourself. Because it means that if you do ask these questions first, and if you change these heads, ask yourself a question. As a reviewer, why would I give a top score to this proposal? As a policymaker, why would I fund this project? As a translator, do I understand the sentences written there, which is super technical for me? Okay? So this is the agenda. Of course, we will not go through it, but please know that as every researcher, either we are writing to Marie Curie or Horizon Europe or ERC or EIC, this is the agenda that we need to be aware of. So we can add elements of it in our proposal. Imagine that we have a beautiful work package on understanding gender equality and female refugees, which is purely research work package. Would it be enough for Horizon Europe proposal to have a very beautiful work package? What will happen probably is they will give a top mark, 5 out of 5, to the research. Excellence part. Excellent idea, super fitting to research gap. We really need to understand this is a societal challenge now that we are facing. But then suddenly, from the impact or the implementation section, you will get 2 out of 5. Because if you don't read this, you will not write another work package on data management. Probably you will not write another work package on how you will create different partnerships with other EU, other RNI stakeholders. So these are all together the part of the game. Okay? It is a bit going out of comfort zone. I know it's the same for me as an expert. I always tell the same thing, like you have to be interdisciplinary, multicultural. You need to add this. You should get out of your own paper, but concentrate on the bigger frame. But suddenly, when I'm writing something, article as a researcher, of course I go back to my own research and understanding the answers of my question and doing the best, trying to do the best out of it. But if we are talking about accessing EU funding, we need to have this whole picture together. And believe me, I understand all of you, how you sometimes will feel uncomfortable to go out of comfort zone, but adding some elements which are not priority for you. But for that, there is also tips and tricks. You don't need to do it by yourself. For every EU funding you will find, right now, the ones that I will show you, you will be able to work with partners. You will be able to work with other departments in your universities. So you can still concentrate on your research while getting help, writing, for example, running data management task, but not you, but your research office or another partner who has strong capability of running it. So if we build up our consortium, our project partners, even teams in a right way, we will also not have the difficulty of getting out of this comfort zone. Of course, if you are the project coordinator, you will still need to have an eye on everything, but it will not be very essential if you really have a good team. How does EU funding work? And now if you have a running project, EU project.
I'm inside a bigger EU project. It's Youth for Postdocs. It's a Marie Curie co-fund.
Okay, great.
And within this alliance, there's this program, Youth for Postdocs, that offered 21 postdoc positions, and I was granted one of those. Yeah, but this is like a small project within a very, very large.
Exactly. Most of the examples we will see are very related, because in Horizon Europe it's similar. We will also see Marie Curie as an example as well, so I'm very happy that you brought. Whatever program that we are talking about, your friend was talking about Marie Curie, I was talking about Horizon Europe, or maybe ERC, there are some common steps that we need to follow for all of them. So we are not still going to the branches, but we are still on the track. First, of course, we will find the funding opportunity from where our new Netflix funding, EU funding and tenders portal. And then we need to find a partner. There are some projects that we are not obliged to find a partner. Some ERC projects, for example, ERC projects, they are more concentrated on the principal investigators. But even there, if you need, you can get a partner institution, or we can sometimes think partner, not only as a partner as a different institution, but building a team that you need. And then application process starts. You open in your funding portal, probably all your institutions already have, I say, national identity number, which is called PIC number. Jerome, do we have pen? Maybe some of the words we can already. So we were talking about funding portal. You found your call there, call for proposal that you are applying for, either Horizon Europe or any other of them. And on the same page of call, you can start your proposal application. So you open a page for your proposal. And the first thing that they will ask you is, what is the PIC number of your institution? PIC number is like every institution in Europe or neighboring countries or countries who are eligible to apply for EU funding has PIC number, identity number. If they have it, you already start your process for EU funding. And then you check, of course, eligibility. For example, maybe there will be a call only for EU member states. If you are not from EU member states, you will not be able to do it. That's why also check all the time this eligibility, because even in the same program, sometimes the rules can be different. For example, under Horizon Europe, many, even the outside of EU countries can apply, but one call says that we specifically for this call also ask you to have a partner from China. Because it comes also from policy, by the way, because there is a relevant policy to be able to, for the need of collaborating with the institutions from China. It can be from another country, but please don't rely on the general framework program. Otherwise, you can be easily say that for every Horizon Europe project, we can have all the EU countries or countries who are eligible for this framework program. There are a lot of cases that I saw just because of this eligibility. again, very good proposals. In the review process, they were rejected. And then, of course, you can always apply again with finding the right partners. But it's a loss of time, especially if you're a researcher, because your time is very valuable, and this is something extra you are doing. And proposal writing is not a super easy task, especially since you need to get out of your researcher mindset a bit. So let's try to be practical. First, check always the eligibility criteria, and then you, again in the same portal, you upload your proposal and the evaluation process starts. Generally, approximately in EU, 4 to 5 months, you have your letter back, which is the evaluation letter that you will receive back from the European Commission.
45 months?
Sorry?
45 weeks?
5 months.
Sorry, I heard 4 to 5.
No, 4 to 5.
4, sorry.
Fortunately, otherwise my search will anyway not be innovative in a couple of years.
Retire.
I don't know anymore.
So luckily 4 to 5 months you will have your letter back, and hopefully you will be funded, and then you will have agreed. Yes.
Can I ask a question about
Sure.
the evaluation?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who evaluates it? What's the network behind? Who's the expert who reads the proposal?
Great
so we know
question.
who we are addressing when we are writing the
There are different mechanisms for different programs, but what happens is, also you can do, especially if you are on like a PhD level and postdoc level, when you go to portal, you will see a link there in the first page that you can apply as an expert. So you apply to the expert pool of European Commission, and imagine that there is a proposal related to your topic. But you are not applying for, because then it shouldn't be a clash of interest. So if you are not applying for this funding program, that specific call, you can be invited as an evaluator, reviewer of the project. In Horizon Europe, you will have 3 evaluators. For ERC, you will have 5 evaluators. But it is very tricky. That's why when I come to tips and tricks, please write your proposal simply, not as a researcher, but as everyone understands the proposal. Even if they choose someone close to your topic, because you will write keywords while you're applying your proposal, and they will choose from the expert pool closer reviewers, but not necessarily exactly same from same field. So it's very important. In ERC, it is even harder. If you will apply for ERC, since these are high gain, high risk project proposals, and from every topic you can apply for, choosing a panel, the right panel to apply for, is even a 1-month study. Who is under this panel? Because panels are very broad. In order to understand who will approximately read your proposal, choosing the right panel will be an extra thing, and people are even working with consultants for that. Because imagine if you are working on migration and governance, there is one governance related panel, but one migration related panel. So you need to even check who are the people, who are the experts under this panel. Not, of course, your reviewers, but who are managing this panel, to understand what is better for you to apply for. So review mechanism changes according to the calls that you are applying for.
Can we see the panel who is responsible of allocating the reviewers? For instance, I'm applying for Marie Curie. I'm really applying for Marie Curie.
Okay.
Can I see the panel? Like, for instance, my topic is, of course, migration governance. Is there a page that shows? It's like if I...
For Marie Curie, I don't remember. For ERC, because I'm an expert in ERC, for ERC there is, we can see. For Marie Curie, let's check together, because I don't remember if they put the panel, panelists' names. If yes, then it would be the best to follow exactly the same. I would at least check even what type of articles these people are writing. I would look for it because then it will facilitate my way of, okay, then how it will be reviewed. And again, to change your head as a reviewer while writing your proposal, it will really help you. Sarah, do you have a question? Oh, sorry.
I have another question on
Yes, sure.
evaluation. So let's say that we don't get the funding in that call. Do we get feedback and then are able to resubmit after?
Thank you very much. This was what was in my mind. I forget. So thanks for reminding. Yes, and these are very important because I have a lot of examples even for Koç University that we applied with the PI, but we got a rejection. But we had ECR, these evaluation letters. If you are rejected or accepted, code. If you are accepted, you will not use them, let's be honest, unless your colleagues need it for another project. The ECR, evaluation letters. If you are rejected, they have to explain for each section of your proposal. For example, if it's Horizon Europe, we have 3 sections: excellence, impact, and the implementation. They have to write under it collaborative, not from 3 reviewers, because they will collect from 3 reviewers and make a paragraph of what are the pros and cons and why did they give 4 out of 5. Say that your idea is very good, but we didn't understand your methodology, so we cut. And then next time when you're applying, you will say that, okay, I will strengthen, I will write more clearly my methodology. So ECRs are very important. For ERC, it's better because they even give it per. They don't only write one paragraph that they merge from 3 reviewers, but they write it for each reviewer. Then you can also understand, like for example, different perspectives, how different perspectives can come when you reapply again for ERC. It's super useful because one reviewer can fully understand and support your project, but maybe second one didn't. And when you write second time, you will see that your language will change a bit to be able to make it understandable, your idea transferred also to another reviewer.
How many times can a project be resubmitted?
As much until you win.
Yeah.
Because it's the nature. But, yes, until you win, but of course, since as much as research, innovation is as important. Of course, you cannot submit the same idea 3 years later, probably there will be a lot of projects here. So what I would do, that I have some examples like that. Sometimes if I change my head to from researcher to a consultant, like 3 years ago they applied for a project, what we do is mostly it will be not rewritten, we will recycle a lot of parts, but the main research idea we need to double check if there are projects being done on this idea. That's why portal is very important, because I put all the links of in the portal where you can find the previous projects or results even of the projects. So if you're applying again, please don't forget to check these ongoing projects. Otherwise, they will not give the funding. They will not give a funding to an already funded idea. This is the essence. So that's why they underline and want to strengthen innovation. And I would, in that case, what I do with my either clients or with my colleagues, if I'm sitting as a researcher, not only check Europe, but check other countries, like other continents as well. It is important because actually the ERA policy, when you read it a bit, you will understand that it's also to catch up, because European research and innovation, not only certain countries in Europe, but overall European research and innovation is as not good as some other countries, for example, like US, like in certain cases Japan, in certain cases China. So they would like to also give this funding, so European research also comes on the same level, some competitive level on research and innovation with these countries. So I also make another research besides European research, what I need also to catch up in my area with these countries. If needed, invite them in my advisory board if they cannot join as a partner. For example, in some of the cases, you will not be able to invite a professor from US, right? They cannot be partner and get EU funding. But you can invite them in an advisory board to get ideas as an expert time to time in your project. This will again feed in European research area policy. We are always going back to the policy because then if reviewer reads it, they will immediately see that, okay, like they really keep in mind why we are giving this funding to them. Not only to bring their research in a good level, but Europe, but also in a global level, what we need to achieve as researchers in Europe. Let's talk a bit about Horizon Europe, because Horizon Europe also covers many different areas, like also ERC, Marie Curie, and some other widening participation calls. So I want you to, of course, we will not go through all of them. I just want you to keep this slide for later to check, to understand how they give, why Horizon Europe, understanding Horizon Europe is very important for us. There are 3 pillars of Horizon Europe. Pillar 1 is about excellence science. If you say that, Eda, I really want to concentrate on my research because I found something and I want to go on with that. I have very innovative ideas, high risk, high gain. So probably you will mostly work on excellence science. Concentrate on research, which are generally ERC projects. As your friend said, Marie Curie projects, and some research infrastructure projects, proposals. But then, most of the other topics that we will also fall into, and MiReKoc, for example, is one of the departments in Koç University who applies a lot to Pilot 2 with, if there is a call on migration, there is almost in every call, there is one application as far as I saw. So there are some clusters you will find. In this cluster, where do you think as researchers working on migration and governance topic, which cluster are we in? There is a cluster related to health, culture, creativity and inclusive society. So you already will know that what you need to do to understand. Imagine that you are invited to write a project together with a colleague from another university. You know that you first need to read the cluster, culture, creativity, and inclusive society. So you know where to start. You don't need to really dig in every call. Probably, and every year, there will be a couple of calls related to your topic. Sometimes you need to fine-tune a bit your topic because you will be working on other institutions, but mostly your topics will be there. But don't be surprised and don't forget to sometimes check other clusters. You don't need to read. You need to read the second cluster, but read at least once what are called for proposals also under other clusters. You will be surprised because they want to understand interdisciplinary perspective in different policies. Under health, maybe there will be a climate change related, migration related health topic. And then you will see that, okay, I cannot do this project myself, but I can be part of it. If there is another institution working on health issue, I can bring the sociological perspective or governance perspective and run a task related to that work package. Of course, we will not be the main actor there in this case, but we will still be able to run and maybe even open new gates for us to write on a bit of slightly different topic than our own research. But it's also very nice accessing funding tool because this way you will also have partners, different partners, and maybe even for you in the future it will be very nice. Okay, so far I worked on the cities on migration. but then it will open you a new gate of research on also merging it with health or climate change or other topics. So what we are doing is checking the second cluster, but trimming at least the other clusters to see if there's something relevant for you. The third one is mostly what you will apply for in the future. Are there any postdoc position here? Yes. You will have, because there's Pathfinder, for example, EIC course. From here you can see that pillar 1 is the fundamental research mostly, so you have a research question. And pillar 2, you have collaborative research with different topics. But then you come to the technology readiness level a bit more to the market. Then you have the EIC, European Innovation Call, where again it turns into high risk and high gain, but more relying on the application. When we talk about application, don't feel, because I was feeling very offensive when they say research, when they put research and market together. By market, what they mean in the European Commission jargon is the closer to application projects. For example, you really need the data, big data, for example, for understanding migration, for application to understand the dynamics of discrimination or AI, how AI is also ethically disturbing, for example, refugees. Like one of my projects, for example, as a researcher. Then it falls into, for example, more than ERC, because I already have the fundamental question, but I'm producing more tools which are applicable. Then I fall more into pillar 3, where it's close to from laboratory to market scale to the market. We call this scale as research, like in European Commission, TRLs, technology readiness level. So from laboratory, which they mean science, like fundamental science, toward application, which is market. It starts from 1, which generally ERC proposals are here, from 1 to 3. It goes until to 9, 10, which are completely, like, includes, for example, piloting of it and application of it. And then we have one fancy one under parallel, widening participation, which actually broader project is part of. In this one, in the first 3, every institution can apply as a coordinator. In the widening participation one, only coordinator can be from widening countries. What widening country means in European jargon? It means
that the level of research that's been done there is not at the level of the other countries, so it's a system to make them catch up with the rest.
It means that some European countries' research and innovation impact is lower than the others. There's a scale of research impact. So some countries are lower. For example, Greece, Portuguese, Malta, Turkey. We are in Turkey. Turkey is also, that's why broader projects coordinator is from Turkey. So the idea is to create a knowledge transfer between non-widening countries to widening countries. So after this call for proposals, everybody, the widening participation countries can also reach the level of excellence and have more ERCs, for example. Clear? I don't know each one of yours countries. If you have specific questions, we can also talk about it either after the class or during the Q&A session. One important thing, you are a researcher, you will not need, but some of my slides are for you for later, because it's impossible in 1 hour to go through everything. But just know that under Horizon Europe, not every project proposal is 100% funded. If it's research and innovation, if you are a research institute, every institution is like industry and research 100% funded. And typical consortium partnership level is 8 to 10. It can be less because mandatory one is less, but typical ones that you see in a regular Horizon Europe project is 8 to 10. But here we have 3. In the broader project, you see 3 partners logos. Because it's a widened participation call, and they were asking minimum 3 partners. And the budget was around 1 million, 1.5 million. And then you also decide how many partners you will get according to first compatibility between them. If it's the minimum eligibility is there, but also they could also take, for example, in MiReKoc, in this case as a coordinator, at 4th and 5th partner. There is no rule not letting them. But the project will not be manageable with 5 partners because of the budget. As researchers, one of the things I also, even if I'm giving trainings about funding budget, I hate working around the budget and financial questions around it. But unfortunately, we need to keep in mind and be realistic as much as while we are creative during writing proposal. We need to be realistic on knowing that we have only 1 million. We cannot afford getting, for example, 3 PhD students in this project. So instead of getting 1, because we need to also provide more jobs around us and having better research. So instead of getting 1 more partner, let's keep 3. But these 3 institutions can have good terms while running the project, have enough PhDs, postdocs, master students, and they can afford their studies as well. So we need to be realistic on that. These are the percentages. You can go check later. But don't worry, if you're from a university, it's always 100%. But one day, maybe like me, you will switch from university to a research institution, research company, which is a startup or a company, industry. Then some of them will be 70% funded. You will see also a lot research and innovation difference. We will not go through every detail, but how Commission decide if project is a research and innovation is according to the activities that you write in your proposal. Just to give one example, if you are talking more on prototyping, testing, or having more field work, then it falls more into innovation. But if you are more on the applied research and development side, it's more research and innovation goal. But why it is important? Because sometimes I have to reject myself, or I see rejected projects which write under research and innovation but have more innovation activities, and vice versa. And people don't pay much, since it's under the same call, they don't pay attention this difference between research and innovation. So, this is again for you to understand a bit what is going on in different funding programs related to researchers. We were talking about technology readiness level from 1 to 9, and how we understand in general most of the Horizon Europe projects, proposals, since ERCs and EICs are still under Horizon Europe. We can more or less understand where they are falling into. So this can be sometimes, if you are lost, you can check if you need to do more fundamental research, basic research, or you need to be in the middle, because they will ask you where you start your TRL, which means actually what is the state of art of your question. And again, as a reviewer, I see a lot of projects fails from the beginning, which is from the state of art. If you don't know where your state of art is, if it's between the middle or it's the beginning, is a basic research, then they will tell you in the ECR, you will receive that question, your state of art. The first remark you will get is, we didn't understand your state of art. Or sometimes they will say that you are on the wrong TRL for this project. But starting part is important, because while you are writing a proposal, you know what you are doing, but where you end is also important. So when you start, maybe your project is TRL4, for example. For technical projects, it's easier to write TRL level. That's why we sometimes, while we are writing social science projects, we also have not only technology readiness level, but social index. We try to also change the jargon a bit to give them the idea where do we fall on this basic research to market side. It's not an easy thing. That's why we need another class to discuss about it. But what you can do as a tips and tricks, if you are lost where your project idea or work package stands on the state of art, or if it's beyond state of art, always find someone, find a colleague from a different institution and discuss your state of art. You will be surprised how much sometimes you will be wrong and right while you are discussing with them. Because we cannot be aware of all the things that are going on, even if we are working on this field 24 hours. Okay? Sometimes you will need to build your consortium because for Horizon, imagine that you cannot apply yet for ERC or Marie Curie. You don't have, or you have already done, and you would like to apply for more, like a broader type of a project where you have partners. Then you need to build a consortium and sometimes enter a consortium. But for that, please don't forget to ask these questions to yourself. If you need a consortium, first of all, because in some of them, they maybe tell that if you can do this, one institution can also apply, like in ERC or ERC even. But then, please check also eligibility. I have one example from ERC last year with Koç University, for example. It says minimum one institution, but you can apply for 3 institutions. But in brackets, they write these 3 institutions, in that case, should be from 3 different countries. But, for example, our PI applied with 3 institutions, but 2 of them from same countries. It was a very good proposal, almost could get from excellence, impact, and implementation full points, but it fails from the eligibility part. Be careful with this eligibility, where you can find this information. When you find your call, everything is written there. Just read, just reading it. This is a map for you. If you are lost, you want to do it, but you don't know, check other departments, check with your research office. If you don't have an access to them, check with your national contact points from your countries. Because they will have the information always. They have national contact points of your countries are the institutions which are responsible from research and innovation funding programs. So they will have the second information right after European Commission. So they have the most pool, because they need to know in their country which institution are there. But plus they have to know all the information almost right after European Commission has that information. So if you need a partner, if you need an institution who knows, but you want to integrate yourself with your project idea, please reach them. And they need to give you an access to this pool, and they need to help you. They are obliged to. And you can even write to European Commission itself. If you have a question, you have to get an answer within 5 days. It's obligatory. Minimum 3, maximum 5 working days. Your questions should be answered, so don't hesitate. Even if you don't have network to access funding tools, please initiate it yourself. There is always something for you, which, for example, this is a very good, this is a research itself, how people find their funding partners. You will see that either it's former partners in framework projects. You can use as an example this. For example, I know that Koç University and Amsterdam work together in another project. And when there was a new project, they immediately invited each other because they know how to work together. But also academic publications. It's found out in this research that people who had academic collaboration to each other are the third most project partners in EU funding. So don't hesitate to reach out the experts in your own discipline. Even this will really open a lot of gates to find this type of partnerships for you. Other tools, this is a map that I left for you. What type of things you can do to reach out these partners and access to them. But these are also useful links. We will not go to all of these. I try to write as much as possible. So even from different type of institutions you are working, you can check. But portal, you will also find a lot of tools even under the portal itself for partnerships and other topics as well. Let's go. Okay, we have 20 minutes. I will also want to go proposal structure a bit. What type of things you need to do in general, again, this is a Horizon Europe example, but this is applicable also for other type of projects. There is always one Part A form. In ERC, for example, it's Part 1. In Horizon Europe, it's called Part A. Generally, these are the online forms that you need to fill in advance. But then there are Part B forms where your proposals are coming from. So you need to write your proposals with certain templates that, again, you can reach your templates and download them from the funding portal. All the information that you can find, because we will not go unless you have questions or specific programs one by one. But here you can find widening participation programs, ERC related information, what type of calls. For Marie Curie, if you are, for example, in, since you have different situation right now, some of you are PhD, some of you I heard that master degree, so you can check what type of projects and funding programs that you can apply for. For Marie Curie and ERC, it's easy because every year there are certain periods that they are opening. If it's Horizon Europe, for example, it's harder. You really need to follow up the work program under funding portal to know approximately when they will open the call for proposal. But at least 2 years in advance you will know it, because working programs are published every 2 years. So even if there is no certain deadline, you will at least know if there is a topic, if there is a call for proposal is opening under your topic. And also Erasmus+. The last thing that I want to talk about, tips and tricks. Again, whatever proposal and funding program you are applying for. The first rule, you talked also about evaluation a bit. Simple to digest. Use graphics. Imagine yourself a reviewer. You have 35 pages of proposal, 45, in some cases 19. According to the funding program, number of pages change. If there is no graphic, no table, just written, and sometimes people even doesn't use like a paragraph differences, space. So would you be able to read it after one page? You will lose some information, right? So sometimes, and most of the cases, when I receive as a consultant, like for me to review the proposal, I say, put less information, but at least most important one leave, but don't make it too compact, because otherwise nothing will be visible. And in the ERC, then you receive an ERC from reviewer, and in the ERC it says that you didn't mention much about dissemination and gender. And then PI comes to me and said that, but we did, it's there. It's on the 13th page, in between all these things, not readable for the reviewer. Imagine yourself as a reviewer in this case. No tiny fonts, tight line spacing, easy to follow, have a good flow. Respect page and margin limits. these things you are used to already from while you are writing articles and getting your peer reviews and everything. But what is more important than to differentiate between being a researcher and proposal writer is write for non-native English speakers. And not necessarily, don't never assume that whatever you write will be understood in the same way that you write. So always make it a peer review, also internally, and even sometimes make someone who doesn't know anything about your field read it. I made it once. I made it my niece, who is 13 years old, to read the proposal because it was a general topic. I even didn't know what review will be from, what discipline the review were. I mean, approximately from social sciences, but it is under widening participation twinning, where every project can be from every discipline can apply. And in this case, it becomes super important to be read by non-native English speaker, or in this case, in your cases, non-academic as well. I forgot to edit. Okay, I went a bit far with making my niece read it, but non-academic can also be good. Especially, another tip, your first 2 pages are the most important part, whatever proposal you are writing for your proposal. You can, if you write a 10th page, the most beautiful and summary of everything, reviewer will be lost already. But if you catch them on the first 2, if your idea is not taken by them, reviewed by them as a blah blah, then most probably you will get a higher already by having first 2 pages super nicely written. By super nicely, I don't mean that literature-wise super nicely, but already giving them the idea about why you are doing this research. Making a general clear picture that you are fitting to this goal, you are fitting to your policy, you are fitting to your research gap. Okay? Sound implementation, tips, reasonable duration. You are researchers, anything can happen, especially if you have field research. Don't be too enthusiastic to write your durations to create an impact on the reviewers. Write it reasonably. If you need, even if you need to put some buffer months, because something can go wrong. We are researchers. Maybe something will be postponed. Maybe you will not find the right experts. Maybe there will be COVID. Okay, you cannot estimate that, but a lot of projects had to get an extension of 6 months, for example, during the COVID time, because of that reason. Because their field study times were too tight, and if they miss it, they cannot do anything. In this case, of course, the European Commission was very helpful, because all of them had a reason. But imagine it's a time that you cannot justify why you couldn't submit your deliverable or article at the end of that month. Justified budget. Budget is another important thing. Generally, as researchers, we would like to write a very good proposal, and we do, and don't forget about the budget. Then the project starts, you need to go to a conference, there's no money. You need to apply, you promise open access, you don't have money for open access. It happened just last week. We had a migration project closing. My colleagues got an amazing offer from a high impact article, but they need 2,000 euros that they didn't put in their budget. And they came up with not being able to have that opportunity. Of course, we start in between researchers crowdfunding for them, but imagine that you don't have that resource. Or imagine that you already mitigated your risk about your budget. You wouldn't have that difficulty. So I know it's hard to concentrate on everything, but make everything parallel and don't be afraid to get help. If you promise for open access while doing a very good research question, don't forget to put your publication. If you are planning to have 5, try to put 5 open access budgeting, or if you are planning to, if you think that, for example, the aim of Broader is to bring Koç University and Turkey in the same impact level as the non-widening countries. What if they promise this but they don't put any conference attendance in the budget? Then all theory, objective also goes. But the Commission will fund the project because they don't fund according to your budget. They read your proposal, fund it accordingly. So you will be the one dealing with the budget. So what I'm saying right now is regarding not to accessing, but hopefully you will access, but after you get the funding for project management. Impact is essential. Like this is something European Commission still doesn't make obligatory in when they write things. They don't say that you have to do a dissemination and exploitation, but it is mandatory. If you don't do it, you will be punished. They will tell you to do a dissemination and exploitation of your project as much as possible. But since they don't write it as an obligatory thing in proposal writing, it doesn't matter if it's a Marie Curie or ERC or Horizon Europe project, they will not fund it, and you will receive an ECR saying that you don't reach enough researchers or citizens or other institutions in your project. So always write a section, even if it's a small paragraph, about how you will make your project results visible. Policy, I think we talked enough. Don't forget to be realistic with your risks and barriers that you will have. For example, it's very easy to make a research in Belgium and Netherlands together in a proposal, and Turkey is our partner. If I hide the truth that there can be some policy-related differences, regulation-related differences in my project, what will happen? If there's someone from Turkey as a reviewer, they will see it. So everything that you put under carpet in your proposal will be possibly seen by someone that you will fail. Instead of that, don't hide the risk and barriers of your research, especially in ERCs and Marie Curies, because they are more high-risk, high-gain projects. They want to see risk. They want to see that maybe it will not be done, but it's worth taking that risk of doing that research. Instead of putting them under carpet, write a mitigation. How you will mitigate that risk. There is a big risk, but if you write a justification of how you will mitigate it, that's what they want to see. They don't write it this way, so that's why it's in the tips and tricks part. But don't forget, make everything credible.
What's credible? What do you mean
by credibility? Like there are a lot of cases. For example, there are indicators. We put indicators in order to look impressive in the project. Like, but not necessarily everybody thinks that these things are achievable, and also, again, not hidden. For example, it happened very recently. It was written in the call for proposal that 30% energy efficiency will be achieved under this project. But then our professors, like while we were talking, I told them, is it doable? They said no, 25% is doable within this mechanism. I said, okay, then we need to justify it. Instead of saying that, okay, we will do 30%. Actually, policy frame was not very right. So instead of accepting them, okay, in order to get funding, okay, we are reaching 30%, they write a very good justification on why only 25 is possible in that country, in that situation. So their credibility of their research. So because sometimes I'm saying it because sometimes it's misunderstood by researchers when I tell them that you need to get out of your researcher comfort zone to another jargon. Then they understood it like more marketing jargon. No, we are still not doing marketing jargon. We are not still trying to sell a car that is not even working. We are just changing our language for them to be more understood and also fits to their policies, okay? Holistic approach, don't forget whenever you can, they will always like it, whatever project you are writing, again ERC, Horizon Europe, interdisciplinary approach, always know who are your stakeholders. If you, maybe they're only researchers, but maybe your stakeholders are also industry, not in the same level. Maybe your prior stakeholder is academia, but maybe second one is public or industry. So always, as much as you can add this multi-actor, multidisciplinary perspective, you will have advantage in all of the funding programs. There is one reason for it. So far, in EU funding projects, European Commission couldn't see yet what is promised, what is talked is done on reaching out other people. Because since it's a funding public money, what they want is, when they give that water bottle to you, they want all other institutions in that discipline to be able to get this knowledge as well. That's why dissemination and exploitation is very important for them and be able to use by them. So this doesn't stay by itself. What happens in generally is there are a lot of bottles here, but they stand here. But it's not used for example, for the tree, water that tree, that the societal challenge tree and so on. They just stay around the tree by themselves. So there's always need for more research on the same topic, so it becomes redundant. Okay? So as much as you can, link them. If you have an ERC project, don't hesitate to write also Horizon Europe project partnership. If you are a Horizon Europe project, don't hesitate to enter maybe as a partner Erasmus Plus project. This will only bring you advantage. Of course, take on as much as you can as a task and work package, but this will only bring you advantage in your future accessing proposals. These are the tools that you can follow from the portal to understand what are innovative projects in your field, what are the results of other projects. So please, there are links. When I send a PDF of the slides, you will be able to go to the links directly, check them. And also here are the links. There are some information resources you can always follow. Evaluation. As I told you, never forget that to read your proposal after you finish writing, at least as a reviewer, evaluator. At least once, read it as an evaluator yourself. Then ask yourself why would they give that funding to you and change it accordingly. Also in the proposals, this is my favorite, the middle last one, shouldn't equal to won't get good score if you don't. Or shall and will, still you have to. Sometimes in the proposals, call for a proposal and you read it. Again, Horizon Europe, ERC, doesn't matter. They will tell you that if you want, you can also include this. If you may, you can include this aspect. This means you must. Because what? Because there's still competition there, right? There's a ranking. There will be 3 proposals. They will rank the proposals, but all of them are 14 on the excellence, impact, implementation. But if you have, they say that if you want, it's not obligatory, but include as a partner institution Turkey, from Turkey, for example. And you didn't, because it says it's not obligatory. I already have a good one. But if they write it, it means that this on the top ranking, if you have the same score, you will get higher. It's the same for entire cross-cutting issues like gender. Every proposal needs to have a gender equality related dimension. What is your perspective about gender equality in your project, whatever field you do? So since it's not obligatory, people generally don't write about it. But what will happen in the ranking is if you have the same score, the one who wrote will get higher. So don't forget to include whatever word you read in the call for proposal, try to do it. Okay? Another, I think this was the last tip. This is again I try to give as much as tool for all of you. And this is the summary of the three that we talked, because everybody has a different visual understanding about from policies to project. There was the tree analogy. This is more the pyramid that you can visually remind yourself that I need to check some policies, regulations in my discipline. We finish.